Hello, everybody, and welcome. And today I'm really winging it. Usually I have a few notes, but this is a general topic. It's called "A Scattered Mind Doesn't Make Money," and how to organize things. So, or organize your business so you can consistently earn an income. I think it's an important topic because I see it a lot. So, here's some things that I see people doing. I see people not being able to organize their time to do the things they need to do to make money. And so I'll give you some examples. So I work with a lot of people who are very creative, and they really want, they have knowledge, they have expertise, they want to get it out to the world, and that's their baby, that's their love. And creating a business isn't really their baby or their love. And so what they do is they spend a lot of time working on their content, and the rest of the business goes to the wayside. And so then they'll realize they need to do something. So like, maybe publicize something. And so they go and do that, but they're not consistent. They don't follow up on it. They're not persistent either. And so what happens is they have a really small list and people don't really know they exist. And so they don't get the proper audience for their wonderful knowledge. And that's really a shame. I also see people not being able to kind of do two things at the same time. And I don't mean doing two things in the same minute or anything, but like in the same day. So they might like really be trying to focus. And so they're trying to work on their content, build their online course or something like that. And it's a similar thing where they don't really know how to, let's say, spend, and this will be one of my solutions, spend part of the day on marketing or part of the day on developing partnerships and all of these things that are so important, or working on their messaging. And so because they just don't really know how to segment their day like that. And often some of these people worked in corporate at some point, they had a job, but some of them never really did. And so they're not used to, having different times of the day for different things. So if you ever were in a job where you had to charge by the hour different clients, and you're used to writing down, I spent this much time for this client, at this rate, and so on like that. You're used to the fact that you have to organize your time like that. But if you've never done that, then very often you just focus on one thing, and the rest just, as I said, goes by the wayside. So I think that's a big issue. Another thing I see is, I would say, especially with beginners, but not only. So I'm a big fan of learning, but there can be too much learning. So I see a lot of people, and sometimes it's because they're trying to get something for nothing. Like they don't have a business yet. They feel like they don't have any money. They feel like the only way they're going to do it is to bootstrap for nothing. And so they spend all this time going to webinars, which are really sales webinars, as you've probably experienced yourself. And they just go to webinar after webinar after webinar, hoping to get enough information so they can actually, make money with their business, start their business. And so they're spending too much time learning, actually, or just hoping that they'll get the information that they need. And they're downloading PDFs and they're reading them. And it ends up being so much stuff. It can be really overwhelming. It ends up being so much stuff that they've never really implement anything. And one of the most important things you can implement is some kind of time management, I think. And, some process of having a goal, figuring out the steps to meet that goal, and then putting those steps on your calendar and sticking as much as possible. It's never perfect, but sticking as much as possible to what's on your calendar. A friend of mine called this living from your calendar, I think she called it. And I really like that. I'm not a big fan of to-do lists, although, I do sometimes have to-do lists. I write little things down. But I find that what really gets done is what gets put on my calendar. And so, I think that's certainly a good way to go about it. And if now you have to really know what your goal is and know what steps you have to take to get to it. So if your goal is to create an online course, you could make the mistake of saying, okay, every day for the next 6 months, I'm going to work on my online course. But by the time that you have that online course done, you won't know if anybody's interested in it. You won't have an audience for it. You won't have messaging. You won't have, there's so many, you won't have partners to help you promote it. There's just so, there's so many things that you won't have. And that's really dispiriting. And so you need to, so there's a process of creating, a couple of processes that you need to know about creating a business. First of all, you need to know what your message is. You need to have something that will attract people. And in order to nail down that message, you need to have a good idea of who your target audience is, what their problem is, and what your solution is, and what your unique solution, what's so special about your solution. Now, I had a client who misunderstood that concept of knowing the problem, what their problem is. It was like what she thought the problem was, but it's no. It has to be what they think the problem is. So you have to do some market research. Now, this market research is not necessarily easy. A lot of people recommend doing like these little conversations and market research conversations. And in my experience, it's almost impossible to get enough of those conversations to get a representative sample of your target market so that the information you get is relevant, is valid. So what that means is if your target market is mothers at home who want to start a business, and that's a large group of people, but okay. And then let's say you speak to 10 people. Well, there are thousands of people, and the 10 people that you happen to speak to might have one opinion that might not be representative at all. So you might really end up with what I would call wrong information because you're not speaking to enough people. So I think it's good to speak to people. I think it's a good thing to do. But I think you also need to do some mass research, which could mean posting on social media. It could be putting out some kind of free offer and seeing how people respond to it. So doing some testing of different messaging. I know somebody who uses Facebook ads for this. She uses really cheap Facebook ads, and she just will do 5 of them with 5 different messages, and she sees which one gets the most clicks, and then she kind of refines it that way. But you could do it without ads as well. Whatever it is, you need to do some more mass testing. In the end, we often end up being kind of suckered into giving people what we think they need rather than what they want. And so that whole first messaging thing is the first step, and it includes doing this analysis and this research. That doesn't have to take a long time. I also know people who spend way too long doing that. But if you're focused on it and consistent with it, usually you can do something like that within 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and then have a really good foundation for your business. So the problem that can be a problem. I certainly see people who don't have their messaging down. But let's say you do get your messaging down, and you have a really good message that's really interesting to your target market, will really help them. And by the way, you can go back and change that over and over again as you see the results of things. But the next thing is you need to have some content, and you need to have an audience for the content, and you need to do both those things at the same time. And this is where people really struggle. So very few people are building their list at the same time that they're creating their content. And it's not hard to do it. So you can start spending an hour in the morning, every morning, doing something to build your list or build your following on social media, and then the rest of the time building your content. So it's just a shame when you build your content and then don't have anybody who's interested in it because you just haven't built that audience. And the audience, that would be a combination of your email list and your Facebook followers and partners who would be people who would promote you. So you promote them, and then they promote you back, and that brings in a new audience each time because you can't sell the same thing to the same audience over and over again. So those are the 3 things: your message, your audience, your program. You can call it MAP, as in roadmap, message, audience, program. But once you create, so there's another piece of that, and that is creating what's called a funnel, which is a series of offers, and it starts with something for free, and that free thing could be a PDF, it could be a webinar, it could be an ebook, it could be a video, it could be kind of almost anything that's going to attract people and bring them into your audience. And then you need some way of making a paid offer after that. And that's a funnel. And you can do it in multiple steps. You can do it multiple ways. It doesn't have to be only one way. But that's another thing that people struggle with a little bit is and some of that is technical. How to present that free offer, get people to sign up and get them on your email list, and then how to make that upsell and so on like that. And most people, I would say, have at least 3 levels. They have something for free and something low priced and then something higher priced and something like that. And you might have multiple streams. So I certainly do. I have lots and lots of free offers, and they upsell to various different types of things. So you can look and try different things out. And so that stumps people a little bit because there are actually a lot of steps in creating that funnel. But basically, it goes like this: you have something for free, and you promote that, and that's part of building your audience. You need to be promoting that every day in some way or another, whether yourself or through partners. Actually, not whether or, but both. Both yourself and through partners. And that is another area where I find people get stumped is finding finding partners and actively partnering with people. And then in your autoresponders and in your freebie itself and on your thank you page, you need to have that upsell to a low price product usually. And there are different ways of doing it, but that's just a typical example. And then from there, you would upsell to something more. Now, a third element I want to talk about is the fact that not everybody who comes onto your list is ready to buy. And so email marketing is the best way to keep in touch with people over a long period of time and show them your expertise and inspire them and enlighten them and teach them until they're ready to buy whatever it is you have to offer. And so that process needs to be going on all the time as well. And so, here you're thinking, well, I have to be building my audience. I have to be staying in touch with my audience. I have to be building my content, all of those 3 things at once. And that can lead to a scattered mind. And what I find most people do is they just drop 1 or 2 of them. I certainly know lots of people who haven't emailed their list in months. And so you can't make money that way. And that's a shame. So the way you do it is you have to understand these steps, and then you have to put them on your calendar. So, from 9 to 10, I'm going to promote my free offer. And from 10 to 11, I'm going to approach various partners and try to set up meetings with them. And from that's 9 to 10, 10 to 11, from 11 to 12, I'm going to send out my, an email, something like that. And so then in the afternoon, I'll work on my content. And it's pretty easy to do that, but very few people are that organized. And I wouldn't say I'm that organized either. I do all of those things at once. I do write my email the first thing in the morning, and then as I find people, I create partnerships with people. I meet with people, but those are kind of all over. I don't do like morning and afternoon like that. And then I find time to write as well, to create things. And I have all these Word documents open because I'm creating a low price product right now, and I'm creating an email course and all of these different things that I'm creating. So, and I would say that would be probably for me the thing that I struggle most with is putting that on my calendar and sticking to that. But it's important. You have to do all of these different things at once. So the main concept is that one more thing I wanted to say is that a lot of the people I work with are very creative. They have these brilliant ideas, and so they're just interested in a lot of things. And they go down the rabbit hole. They're interested. They see something. They want to learn more about that. They're curious about this, and they want to learn more about that. And you do have to limit that. You can't just follow up every interesting thing. Maybe you could start collecting them, and then maybe Saturday afternoon is when you're going to do that, or something like that, or Sunday afternoon is when you're going to follow up on all these interesting things that you saw. But if you follow them up as you find them, you'll never get back to your original project or your original task, and you won't meet your goals. So you can't just go down the rabbit hole for every interesting thing. For example, one kind of proof that I have of it is I see a lot of people who click on my email. So I'm offering something for free, let's say a free webinar, and a whole bunch of people click on it, and then they don't sign up for the webinar. And I've asked people like, why? And they say, oh, I was just curious. Or they say something that shows even more that they're scattered. I wanted to sign up for it, and I clicked the link, And then I found something else. And so I lost track of that. I just kept the tab open, but I never came back to it. So those are signs of a scattered mind. And so you need to be very intentional about, what you click on, what you decide to, which rabbit hole you decide to go down. If it's something important, then you finish it. And if it's not important, just don't do it. Or sometimes you can do it if it's not time urgent. You can say, okay, I want to check this out later, and here's my special time for checking out things. Like I often have something like that on Saturday afternoon. I put on my calendar to check out some different things. Okay, so just to summarize, you need to figure out your goals. You need to know the steps to meet those goals. And in an online business, it's a combination of your message, your audience, and your program. You need to put that on your calendar, and you need to stick to it as much as possible so that you get all of those things done. And specifically, the audience building and the program building, whatever your content is, needs to be developed simultaneously so that by the time your program is finished, then you have an audience for it. And that audience will be both people on your list because you've promoted something for free, and then also partners that you've worked with, and so you've promoted them, and they're now ready to promote your wonderful new course, and that goes really, really far to help you make some sales. Let me know if you have any questions about this. Okay, bye-bye.